An American scholar of Albanian history states that at the point that political relations in Albania have extended, a solution of compromise would be unlikely without the engagement of internationals, in particular that of the European Union and of the United States. Professor Bernd Fisher of Indiana University in Fort Wayne says in an interview for the Voice of America that he would like to see a serious engagement on the behalf of the Albanian President Damir Topi, and that recommendations for the solution to the actual situation should be more concrete. Our colleague Kate Kostreci had an interview with Professor Fisher. Professor Fisher, last week protests ended up in violence and marked a step of regression for Albania. What is your opinion for the recent events? The situation in Albania seems to have degenerated from politics into a tragedy. We also had a tragedy in the United States in Tucson, where President Obama held one of his prominent speeches, in my opinion, to stabilize the political situations and with the purpose to improve the tone of politicians. In my opinion, this was very effective. When I saw the events of last Friday in television, my very first thought was that despite the tragedy, this could offer Albania the opportunity of a similar valuable moment to that of the United States. I expected from Albanian leaders to stand together and show the capability of statesmen. Unfortunately, it never happened. A considerable part of the problem was the harsh political rhetoric to which was attributed the aggravation of the situation. You are saying that hopefully the parties will settle down and have a civilized debate. Do you believe that it would be possible under such conditions?
It's unlikely. At this point,
I absolutely believe that at this point is unlikely to happen. In my point of view, the only possible solution would be a considerable and serious engagement of the international community. I believe that it is quite obvious that it will not be a compromise on the behalf of the both main political parties, and it is quite a serious situation that asks and demands for a greater engagement of the European Union and that of the United States. I approve what the American ambassador and the Deputy Secretary of the State, Tom Countryman, as well as the representatives of the European Union declared that the tone of the political debate should be improved. But this is not sufficient, for it should be accompanied with concrete recommendations to improve the conditions and lead to a compromise between the two parties. Unfortunately, I consider that in the American political context this cannot be achieved without the involvement of the internationals. I had wished that President Topi would be more active. He has claimed for tranquility, peace and compromise, but probably it has come the time that he should offer recommendations on the critical issues that should be discussed and who are the ones that should reach a compromise. As I stated previously, the circumstances themselves ask for a considerable engagement on the behalf of the internationals and the recommendation of the United Nations, because otherwise it bears the peril for another likely violent event. The international mediated communication indicates that the parties should have a willingness to reach a compromise. The political crisis in Albania was the consequence of the elections in 2009. What would make this engagement particular and effective this time? It can be applied a model of recommendation accompanied by some specific conditions. The European Union had an unsuccessful attempt in the past, so I do not believe that it enjoys the same reliability as it did before. Therefore, I strongly support the idea that the American engagement would be more effective. In my opinion, what would encourage the debate would be the fact that the European Union and the United States present some tangible suggestions upon the electoral structure. For instance, I judge that it would be advantageous the improvement of vote counting. The nominations of militants as commissioners in elections have proved to be a mistake. I believe that it was the main problem of the elections held in 2009, and it appeared to be a major problem in 2005. There are some answers for the aforementioned issues. Albania needs some more years to establish a civil public service where the nominees will not be individuals belonging to one or another party. That would be the ideal solution, but the next elections are getting closer and the context is the same. So how can someone expect more efficient elections than those in the past when nothing has changed? I would recommend a contraction with an international enterprise which would be absolutely objective in the vote counting process. Thus, I propose substantial recommendations on the behalf of the President, European Union, United States, and pressure upon the parties to settle down and reach a compromise. One of the major problems in Albania after the communist system, and which is still an ongoing issue, is the negligence of institutions. What does it mean for the Albanian democracy?
Democracy has not yet been fully established.
This obviously reveals the fact that democracy and principles of legality have not been fully established. One of the main reasons is that the institutions themselves are extensions of the political parties. The so-called independent institutions do not possess that independence. They ought to, and this is partially attributed to the fact that they are managed by political nominees. This process of institutional independence needs time to be fully accomplished. Albania has gone through one of the cruelest communist systems in the world, and it's time to recover from the political consequences of Hoxha's dictatorship. But if a civil public service is born, this institution will regain the respect of population, which actually lack nowadays. What do you think of the public function in the civil society? In your opinion, is there any need for maturity in the public domain so they could apply pressure over this policy, which is supervised by the personality of the leaders?
Play a more active role.
I strongly support the fact that the civil society should engage more actively, and actually this is one of the domains where I lay my hopes for a better Albania. I believe that the people are suffering the political consequences the same way they did during the dictatorship of Hoxha. The participation in elections has also decreased. The level of corruption remains the same, and the needs of people are being ignored. Participation in demonstrations, expression of discontent towards a particular party, a particular policy, or towards the government generally is the essence of democracy anywhere. We really hope that such demonstrations in the near future will be totally peaceful. In my opinion, the loss of life in this protest is unacceptable. The political rhetoric is harsh in many countries, including the United States. What makes it perilous here in Albania?
Well, I think part of the problem in Albania is that harsh political rhetoric has been going on for so long.
An essential part of the problem in Albania is that the harsh political rhetoric has been going on for a long time, and it seems that it has become part of the political process. I believe that it is very obvious that it has an impact when political leaders name each other with terms such as traitor or terrorist. This permeates in the local communities, thus justifying acts of violence because people think that they are defending their country from traitors and terrorists. I think that this bears a great peril and is an important issue that both parties should consider seriously. Other fundamental issues that must be treated need a longer period of time. Therefore, I insist that it is on their interest and that of Albania to immediately decrease the level of harshness in the political rhetoric because it has surpassed also the level of hatefulness. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.